You wake up to the sound of church bells echoing across stone battlements. Your first breath carries the scent of frankincense, steel, and the distant smoke of cooking fires. Your father isn't just any man. He's Sir Godwin de Montfort, Knight of the Holy Sepulchre, the sword of Christ in the Holy Land, the man who took the cross and sailed to Jerusalem to fight for God's glory, the warrior monk whose banner bears both the cross of faith and the blood of infidels. You're born into holy war, but that war has been raging for longer than anyone remembers. Your cradle is carved from Lebanese cedar, blessed by priests and surrounded by relics from the holy city. But outside your castle walls, the Saracens grow stronger with each passing year. From your earliest memories, you're surrounded by the sounds of siege and salvation, pilgrims arriving with tales of miracles and martyrdom, knights departing on campaigns that may be their last, priests blessing weapons that will spill blood in God's name. This is your inheritance. This is the weight of being born to holy war. Your childhood is spent in Crac de Chevalier, the greatest fortress in the Christian East. The walls are thick enough to stop any siege engine. The towers rise high enough to see approaching enemies for miles. The chapel contains relics that have witnessed Christ himself. Your tutors aren't just learned clerks and gentle monks. They're Templar knights who fought in a dozen campaigns, hospitaller sergeants who've defended pilgrim routes, military engineers who've built fortresses from Cyprus to Antioch. They teach you that the Crusades aren't just about conquering territory. They're about defending Christendom itself, about preserving the holy places where Christ walked and died, about ensuring that Christian pilgrims can visit Jerusalem without fear. Your father appears in your life like Saint Michael descending to battle demons, magnificent in his white surcoat bearing the red cross, terrible in his righteousness and absolute in his faith. When he returns from campaigns, he brings trophies and tales, Saracen weapons captured in battle, holy relics recovered from infidel hands, stories of miraculous victories won through divine intervention. But you also see the cost etched in his flesh and spirit. Scars that map every battle he survived, nightmares that wake him praying for forgiveness, the gradual hardening that comes from years of necessary killing. Your father notices you watching during his prayers for the souls of slain enemies. He calls you to the chapel after completing his devotions. You're 10 years old, barely understanding the complexity of holy war, but his eyes hold the weight of divine mission. He places his sword across the altar and invites you to touch the blade. This, he says, indicating the steel blessed by bishops, has been consecrated to God's service. This, he says, pointing to the cross carved in the pommel, reminds us that we kill not from hatred, but from love. Every crusader must remember, we fight not for conquest, but for salvation, not for gold, but for God. Your hands shake as you touch the holy weapon. The steel feels cold, but the cross seems to burn with divine fire. You understand that you're not just touching a sword. You're accepting a sacred obligation that will define your entire life. Your education becomes preparation for sacred warfare. You learn swordplay from masters who faced Saladin's warriors, castle defense from engineers who've survived legendary sieges, Arabic from scholars who've debated theology with Muslim clerics, military tactics from strategists who've studied both Christian and Saracen methods. Your father teaches you that crusading success depends on 3 virtues: faith in God, loyalty to brotherhood, and respect for enemies. Faith provides strength when human courage fails. Brotherhood ensures that Christians support each other against overwhelming odds. Respect for worthy enemies prevents the pride that leads to defeat. You study maps of the Holy Land showing Christian strongholds and Muslim territories. Each marked fortress represents a sacred trust. Each drawn boundary represents the front line between salvation and damnation. Each calculated campaign represents souls to be saved or lost. By your 15th birthday, you've participated in 3 defensive actions. You've seen Saracen armies test Christian fortifications. You've helped treat wounded pilgrims attacked by bandits. You've learned that holy war involves more prayer than fighting. Your first major battle comes during Saladin's great offensive. The Sultan has united Muslim forces under single command. He's recapturing Christian cities with methodical precision. Your castle becomes a crucial link in the remaining Christian defense network. Your father gives you command of the Eastern Tower, your first independent responsibility. The position overlooks the main approach route. Your job is to signal incoming attacks and coordinate defensive fire, the test of your training and your faith. The siege begins at dawn with drums that sound like thunder. Thousands of Saracen warriors surround the fortress. Their banners bearing crescents flutter like storm clouds. Their siege engines begin the methodical work of breaking Christian stone. For 6 weeks, you hold your post as death flies overhead. Arrows, stones, and Greek fire rain down constantly. Your men pray between volleys and fight between prayers. Every day brings new challenges that test both skill and faith. The breakthrough comes when Saracen miners undermine the eastern wall. Your tower shudders as foundations crack. Your men look to you for orders as certain death approaches. Your father's training provides the answer. Instead of fleeing or surrendering, you order a counterattack, not against the overwhelming forces outside, but against the tunnel beneath. Your small force descends into darkness to fight the miners in their own element. The battle underground lasts hours. Men fight with daggers in spaces too cramped for swords. Christians and Muslims die together in collapsed tunnels. But your desperate gambit succeeds. The mining operation fails. The wall holds. The siege continues, but the immediate crisis passes. Your success brings recognition that changes everything. The Grand Master of the Templars offers you full membership in the military order. Not as a child following his father, but as a proven warrior worthy of the white mantle. The choice represents everything you've been raised to want. But accepting means taking vows that will separate you from the world forever. Poverty, chastity, obedience, and perpetual warfare. A life dedicated entirely to holy war with no personal relationships or individual goals. You choose the cross and accept the burden it represents. Your initiation into the Templars takes place in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre itself. You kneel where Christ was buried and rose again. You swear oaths that bind your soul to God's service. You receive the white mantle that marks you as Christ's soldier. The ceremony transforms you from a night sun into something both more and less than human. Your new life has structure that eliminates personal choice. Prayer 7 times daily, training in weapons and tactics, garrison duty in frontier fortresses, escort missions for pilgrim caravans. Everything serves the mission of defending Christian access to the Holy Land. Your individual desires become irrelevant compared to collective purpose. But the Crusader states are weakening despite individual heroism. Muslim forces grow stronger and more unified. Christian reinforcements from Europe arrive less frequently. Local Christian populations begin accommodating Muslim rule. The strategic situation deteriorates faster than tactical victories can address it. Your most successful mission becomes your most troubling experience. You're assigned to escort a group of scholars translating ancient texts. Christian, Muslim, and Jewish scribes working together. They're preserving knowledge that transcends religious boundaries. Greek philosophy, Arabic mathematics, Hebrew mysticism. Wisdom that all three faiths claim as heritage. Spending months with these scholars exposes you to uncomfortable questions. If Muslims preserve Christian philosophy, how evil can they be? If Jewish scholars illuminate Christian theology, why do Christians persecute them? If all three faiths worship the same God, what justifies endless warfare? Your chaplain warns you against such doubts. Faith requires acceptance, not questioning. Duty demands obedience, not understanding. The Crusader's job is to fight, not to judge God's will. But the questions persist despite official discouragements. Your crisis deepens during the fall of Jerusalem itself. Saladin's forces recapture the Holy City through siege and negotiation, not through massacre, but through terms that allow Christian pilgrimage to continue. The Sultan's behavior contradicts everything you've been taught about Muslim savagery. He's merciful to defeated enemies, protective of Christian holy sites, respectful toward brave opponents. More chivalrous than many Christian knights you've known. Your worldview cracks under the weight of experienced reality. The reconquest attempts that follow reveal further contradictions. Christian armies spend more energy fighting each other than fighting Muslims. Venetian merchants profit from selling supplies to both sides. Local Christians often prefer Muslim rule to foreign Christian occupation. The pure moral clarity you were raised to believe begins dissolving into political complexity. Your final disillusionment comes during the Fourth Crusade. Instead of marching to Jerusalem, the army attacks Constantinople. Christians slaughter Christians in the name of holy war. The Byzantine Empire, bulwark of Eastern Christianity, falls to Western Crusaders. You participate because obedience is your vow, but your soul rebels against the mission. The sack of Constantinople destroys your remaining faith in the crusading ideal. Christian soldiers rape nuns and burn libraries. Holy relics are stolen and sold like common plunder. The city that preserved Roman Christianity for 8 centuries dies at Christian hands. You realize that holy war has become indistinguishable from any other war. That sacred missions can be corrupted by human weakness. That good intentions don't guarantee good outcomes. Your response shapes the remainder of your life. You don't abandon Christianity or renounce your vows, but you redefine what it means to serve God through warfare. Instead of killing for faith, you begin protecting through strength. Your new mission becomes defending pilgrims, protecting scholars, and preserving knowledge. Fighting only when necessary to protect innocence. Using warrior skills in service of peace rather than conquest. The transformation from crusader to protector happens gradually. You establish safe houses for travelers regardless of religion. You fund scriptoriums that preserve manuscripts from all traditions. You train knights who understand that strength serves justice, not ideology. Your reputation changes from feared warrior to trusted mediator. Muslims respect you because you respect their honor. Christians trust you because you maintain your faith. Jews rely on you because you protect their communities. Your example influences other disillusioned crusaders seeking meaningful purpose. Your later years are spent building bridges instead of burning them, negotiating truces that protect pilgrimage routes, facilitating trade that benefits all communities, creating institutions that survive political changes. You die peacefully, which would have disappointed your younger self but satisfies your mature conscience. Mourned by Christians, Muslims, and Jews who benefited from your protection. Remembered as a knight who found a way to serve God without betraying human dignity. Honored by people who valued your evolution from warrior to peacemaker. Your funeral brings together representatives of all 3 faiths. They pray in different languages but honor the same qualities: courage, justice, mercy, and wisdom. The virtues that transcend religious boundaries and unite human hearts. Your legacy lives in the institutions you created and the principles you embodied. Not the conquest of territory, but the conquest of hatred. Not the defeat of enemies, but the transformation of enmity into respect. Not the preservation of doctrine, but the preservation of human dignity. Your gravestone bears an inscription that would have puzzled your father, but defines your achievement. Here lies a crusader who learned that the greatest victory is peace. The cross and crescent carved together beneath your name tell the story of a man who found God's will in protecting God's children rather than slaughtering God's enemies.